Hey guys, Joe Miles here with Osseo Gear. This is the Mission Whitetail podcast. We're going to be doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to kill these mature bucks. We're going to step outside the box and look at the why for gear, tactics, training, and more importantly, the mindset from over 35 years of chasing these magnificent animals all over North America. Thank you for following along and welcome to Mission Whitetail.
What's up, fellas? Welcome back to the Mission Whitetail podcast. We are in the season now. Things are off and running. Big deer hitting the ground. We're into October. Won't be long until the rut is rolling. It's starting to kick a little bit here in South Carolina. Illinois opened, Texas opened, Iowa, Indiana. Everybody's off and running, man.
Heck yeah, we got you and I got a couple good ones on the ground. You got a giant in where the hell did you
Alberta.
go? Alberta. I was gonna say alfalfa land.
They ate a bunch of alfalfa up there for sure.
But yeah, and we got couple, I guess, field staff guys that are shooting some good ones too. It's getting to be that magical time of year.
Yeah, Ben Rising
chilling out
up in Ohio killed a good one. Dylan, his right-hand man up there, killed a good one. They're starting to hit the ground.
Heck yeah.
So, guys, the Mission Whitetail podcast is to try and bring value to whitetail bow hunters. And try and bring guests on so that we all can learn. Me, you, everybody that listens, to try for us all to get better as bow hunters. I'm going to step on a soapbox here just for a minute because I think it's important. I normally don't interact with the haters and the negativity and the drama in the hunting industry because there's a bunch of it, and I just move on, right? It's going to be, it's an alpha male-centered sport, if you will, or experience or pastime, and there's lots of testosterone, but I am gonna visit real quick on something that happened in the last week. Kevin, you're kind of up to speed there. There was another podcast. I'm not going to mention the name of it, and another hunter who is fairly well known, especially in the saddle hunting world, that just went on a tirade about some pretty good friends of mine. Went on just on this podcast, just went off on Don Higgins, Andre DeQuisto, and Mark Drury, and just talked about how they weren't real hunters, I don't know that they weren't real hunters, but they weren't good hunters. They didn't hunt public land. If there was no way Don Higgins could come to the state this guy lives in because it's heavily pressured and kill a 125. And these are just TV hunters, and they've got these ultra managed farms, and it's not real hunting. It's just you set up in a hedgerow or you set up in a funnel and you're going to kill a 190, which is absolutely not the case. But anyway, my point here, I'm not going to drag this out. That's just preposterous. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And first of all, for that podcast to allow it to be on there is just, there's a thing called professional courtesy, and you just don't do that. And let me keep going. I know you want to get. I was
gonna say, especially after the guy went on there to be on your podcast as a courtesy, and then you let somebody else bash him. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So again, so here's the deal. I've been around about every bow hunter, from every level, from little kids just getting started to guys that are at an elite level, and there is no quantifiable way to say this guy is the best whitetail hunter on the planet. Everybody's playing field is completely different. Shifting back to this one incident, I know these guys. I know Don Higgins. I know Andre DeQuisto. Their passion is giant whitetail deer, the biggest whitetail deer in North America. And guess what? Those are not found consistently on public ground. Okay? There are a few that get killed, but consistently they're not found on those properties. They want to hunt the biggest whitetail on the planet, and those deer are found in they find unpressured properties that have the habitat that they can live and grow old on, and that doesn't happen often on public ground. These guys, Andre, Don, Mark Drury, these guys are some of the hardest working dudes I know. They have the most common sense of anybody, and they're unbelievable hunters. If what they wanted to shoot was on public ground, I guarantee you they would get in on these public land spots and be absolute killers in there. Mm-hmm. Their focus is on the biggest deer in North America. It's not on competing with other hunters. It's not going into a public land spot and spending your entire season to shoot a 125, a 133-year-old. That's admirable, man. Hunting on public is tough. Yeah. And if that's what you like to do, if you like to hunt pressured deer and you want to get in there and compete with other hunters and come out of there with a mature buck, that's awesome. And that's hard to do. There's no question it's harder to do that than it is to kill deer on private managed properties. Nobody's going to debate that. But to kill world-class deer consistently, you've got to hunt where they are, and that's what these guys have created. And the funny thing is, Don and Andre, they grew up hunting public. They did all that growing up. I mean, they've been there, done that, killed great deer on public land, and their goals changed over time. So, I look at our environment, and we're a little bit of a hybrid. We hunt highly pressured ground. You hunt a good bit of public. Mm-hmm. I hunt a club that technically could have 40 people hunting down there at any time with rifles starting August 15th going all the way to January 1st. So that's some highly pressured property. And the stuff in Pennsylvania, the public in Ohio, the public in Michigan, I haven't hunted it, but I'm pretty sure that some of the ground we've got here in South Carolina is just as pressured, if not more. But then I really do enjoy going to Alberta, going to managed property in Illinois and Kansas, because I too want to try and kill some of the biggest deer, in North America. Mm-hmm. So the point of all this is, we've said this before, but we're all hunters. There is no best hunter. To bash a guy because he kills a couple 200 inchers on TV and say that he's soft and weak and can't get it done on public it's infuriating. Yeah. So that's just a point that I wanted to make. And off the drama, we're not going to talk about that anymore on this podcast. I'm off the soapbox. Let's move on to what we're going to talk about today. One I guess, announcement. We're not sponsored or anything like this by anybody. The podcast is not. We're not trying to monetize this podcast. Again, it's for information and to bring value and to help all of us become better hunters. But something we are going to be doing over at Osseo that I think is pretty neat. Things that you can control in hunting, like your archery equipment, your ability as an archer, everything that you can control, you should really try to maximize that. Yep. And so we, with your expertise, and I'll let you talk about this. I know I'm hogging the mic here. We're going to start Osseo Custom Bow Works in January. And basically, we are very fortunate here in South Carolina or in Columbia to have an incredible pro shop. Yep. Jeffrey's Archery is one of the best pro shops, I would argue, in the country. And so guys go there and they buy their bows, they get them set up. These guys are super busy, and we're going to we're not going to be selling new bows or components or sights or quivers or anything like that to compete with Jeffrey's. What we're going to do, or what you're going to do, I should say, is we are going to take some used bows and really super tune them and have those available for guys, and then also do some custom arrows. Really, buy 30, 40 dozen arrows, and then find the absolute best out of those 30 dozen, and sell those. And then we're going to super tune guys' bows like a bow mechanic. I mean, I've been in the bow hunting game for 30 plus years, and Kevin, you've tuned my bow for the last 10 years?
Yeah.
And you know, obviously I'm super finicky with my bow, and I know the basics, but not, I don't know the detail that you do with the super tuning and the walk back tuning. You know, I can build arrows, I can check my timing, I can put my sight on, I can sight my bow in. You know, I know if something's wrong, but when it gets into the real fine details, it can make a super big difference. And the super tuning, getting everything dialed perfectly, you know, that's kind of your expertise and what you are really good at. And so I'm excited about being able to offer this to, you know, guys that are listening to our podcast and our ASIO customers. Talk a little bit about what you see happening there.
Yeah, so there are a lot of guys out there who think that, you know, their bow set up, you know, they get it set up and everything is good enough. But then there's a lot of guys that I'm finding out, that I guess we're both finding out, that they're not okay with good enough. They want every little advantage that they can control. And we've had a handful of guys coming to us about tuning their bows, a lot of buddies, and now they're seeing you know, the arrow builds and things that we do for us, and now I'm building custom arrows for guys and tuning them. So we just figured we can help out as much as we can, and you know, help fund our passion a little bit. So we're putting that out there, and it's something that we enjoy doing. So if you guys want to get in touch with us and send us your bows, or, you know, if you're local, we'll meet you somewhere, but we can get you knocked out, and we got the range and all that at the office. So we'll get it shooting how you want it to be shooting.
Yeah, we're gonna call it ASIO Custom Bow Works is going to be the name of it. We'll probably have a little link on the ASIO Gear page that sends you right there with pricing and that sort of stuff. And again, you know, it's taking what your pro shop does and just amplifying that.
Right.
Get everything down. And some guys aren't fortunate like we are. You know, they with a great local pro shop. So you know, we've had guys hit us up from all over the country,
right,
about getting their bows and having you build some arrows. And the difference, and this is funny, and you'll get a kick out of this, Kevin has an innate ability to really pay attention to the little teeny details and not get frustrated.
When I want to.
And not get frustrated.
If you ask my old lady, I don't listen to anything.
I think that's universal.
The other day she goes, "Are you even listening to me?" And I said, "That's a funny way to start a conversation."
Derailed.
I keep going. Sorry.
So what I'm saying is, you've got the ability to, you know, spend lots of time with little meticulous, you know, tuning issues, with getting a rest dial, getting the, you know, I saw you the other day working on a string angle on the launcher and running it in different positions tied to the limb.
God, that was a pain in the butt to figure out, by the way.
But, you know, that holds the arrow longer or shorter and makes it more accurate, keeps from getting fletch contact, and things that a lot of guys just don't even think about.
Right.
And then matching the arrows is super important. The spine alignment, the knock tuning, things that guys don't have time or the equipment to do, we can do.
Yeah, it's insane, too, when you talk about arrows. You get, you know, the highest end 0.001 straightness, and you put it on a spinner, and you got like half of them are actually straight. And then, you know, you can get another, you know, a few more straight, but you got to spin them and mark the end that you want to cut off and all that good stuff. I'm not going to tell. I mean, there's plenty of videos out there on how to do it, but I don't want to go through all of it. We'd be here all day on how to tune arrows, but it's pretty amazing how those little tricks can get just about any broadhead or anything flying straight, even though you're originally having a bunch of trouble with it.
Yep. And it's been trial and error for you for 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
And then we really the last couple of years we dove into we went down all the rabbit holes and did a ton of broadhead arrow testing, bow testing, and have learned a lot.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. We like to do it.
Yep. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast today. Kind of off topic for normal what we do here, but today is an equipment dump, a gear dump for everything that we use. I mean, guys are getting into the season. Some guys are just now putting their stuff together. It's a little late, but just thought we'd go through kind of everything from the ground up that we use. And again, this is non-biased, not sponsored by any of this stuff, but it's stuff that we've used over the years and tends to really work.
Yeah.
So I thought since we start at the bottom, we start with boots. All the details matter when you're chasing these big deer. So I'll go like normal. I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've got really 4 boots that I'll use early season. If it's dry, I really like the Solomon Speed Cross. They're almost like tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They're real quiet, and they're real comfortable, and they're real cool.
Right.
So I'll run those every time I can, just because they're so comfortable and they're cool when it's hot here. If it's wet and I've got to go through water, I've got just a regular pair of muck boots, uninsulated muck boots. I've got a pair of insulated ones as well if it's super, super cold. My normal boot, like in the Midwest, when it's normal temperatures, I've got a Solomon hiking boot that's got about, I think it's 200 or 300 grams of thinsulate in it. It's not a super cold weather boot, but it's got Gore-Tex in it. It is waterproof, or as waterproof as it can be. And it's a good, comfortable, easy to climb. That's something that I've found. You wear these clunky rubber boots,
yeah,
and try and climb on some of these sticks and stuff when they're wet or there's frost. You got to be dang careful.
Mm-hmm.
So I like a more form-fitting boot that I can feel my feet in when I can. And then when it gets into super cold, I actually have a video on this on our Joe Miles YouTube channel on keeping your feet cold. But I'll wear those Kenetrek mountain pack boots.
Yeah.
They've got 600 grams of thinsulate in the shank, and they are super, super warm boots. What's your boot setup?
Yeah, so my favorite, probably my all-around boot that I always wear is the Danner pronghorns. I think you got me hooked on those a long time ago, but those are the most comfortable kind of hiking style boot, and I think they have a little bit of thinsulate to them, but it doesn't really matter. I just throw on thicker socks when it cools off, but those are my favorite. They're the most comfortable. They're easy to break in, and they keep my feet warm. And I do a lot of walking, so I'm not a big fan of the knee-high rubber boots, but I do have a pair that I will wear if I got if it's real wet, or I got a couple spots where I sneak through a creek a good ways to get to my stand. So I'll wear those on those days, but I got those 2 boots, and then I have the Solomon Speed Crosses. I mainly wear those just for scouting and things like that. And then I have a pair of Kenetreks, but I just mainly use those for really heavy, like mountains or hills. Those aren't the most comfortable because the shank is so stiff on them. So I rarely wear them, but they're a nice tool to have. But all around boot for around here and Midwest, I like those Danner pronghorns.
Yep, make a great boot. Now we're going to get guys that say, "Don't you want to wear rubber boots for the scent?" And lots of guys have different experience, and lots of guys swear by rubber boots and spray in their rubber boots. I have not, in all my years of trying stuff. I have the deer smell where I've walked. If they hit my trail, whether I've got on rubber boots or whether I've got on leather boots.
Yep, same thing with me.
So that's kind of my experience. I know guys have different and swear by wearing rubber boots in and letting them stay dry. Some guys spray them down and they swear by that. I have not personally seen that. Socks, I love a merino wool sock. You know, they do really good with moisture. They retain heat. They do good, you know, for walking. Obviously, a lightweight pair at the beginning of the year all the way up to late season. I'll wear the Kenetrek Mountain Hunter Extreme merino wool outer sock, and then they've got an awesome polypropylene liner and again, that's all on that YouTube video. But that's a heck of a setup to keep your feet warm.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't know which brand mine are though. You might know. They got like a little like stick figure caveman looking guy on them, but they come with a liner and then the regular.
Is it Smart Wool?
It might be. I can't remember. I need to look it up because I need more of them. But I love their liners.
Polypropylene is the key. You know, I'm probably talking wrong here, but I think it was 90% polypropylene in those Kenetrek liners. And I learned that sheep hunting is that, man, that when I would wear that liner underneath the wool, it would pull my feet when I would get back to camp from hiking all day would be totally dry.
Yep.
And that polypropylene was pulling the moisture away from my foot, and the merino wool was keeping it in there, but it was away from the foot, so my feet never got cold. And then, you know, obviously whitetail hunting, you know, you may have 200 yards to walk or half a mile or a mile to walk, but you're not going to get super, super sweaty.
Right.
And then you've got to sit there. But I know when I used to wear like 2 pair of cotton socks, you know, you'd walk half a mile, your feet would sweat a little bit, you get up and then you freeze to death.
Right.
Whereas with that system, you know, it keeps your feet pretty warm.
Yeah, and then in later season in the Midwest, I found, because my feet sweat so bad, I found if I bring an extra pair of socks to the tree with me, or not even wear my thicker socks until I get to the tree, that helped me a lot because my feet sweat so bad, and that's what makes you cold is your feet sweating.
No doubt.
If you can get away from that, you'll be way more comfortable.
All right, moving on to base layers. You know, this is something, again, we learned mountain hunting. We're in extreme temperatures, extreme hiking, you know, 12,000 feet and in some pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We should do a podcast on some of these hunts. You mentioned that.
Yeah, we should do some stories. We got some pretty crazy stories.
Turkish to Turkish.
Yeah. The turkey. Country of Turkey was a fun one.
Yeah, we're derailing again.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so base layers. There are 2 schools of thought, and I do go by this. If I've got a long way to walk and I need it to dry quickly, I will wear a synthetic base layer, synthetic bottom, synthetic top, because I want it to dry really, really quickly. If I do not have a long way to walk, I will wear merino top and bottom. And those, to me, merino tends to hold in your heat better or just a warmer base layer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it. If I've got a tremendous long way to walk, like a mile to get to where I'm going, or if I'm going to do a crazy hanging hunt in the mornings, I got a long way to walk, I got to pack everything in, I got to do a bunch of climbing, might have to do some sawing, whatever it is, I'm going to be sweating. I want to do synthetic. If it's, you know, super, super cold and warmth is the number one thing, I'm going to run merino.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of merino stuff. I'm usually wearing like a mid-weight synthetic because I'm probably like 80% of my hunts are hanging hunts anyways, and I don't want to be sweating my butt off. So I'm basically just wearing base layer to the stand. I got like a thin, like a vest or, you know, and just our mid-weight pants on, and then I'll throw my heavy stuff over top of that once I start cooling off and I'm in the tree. But mine's usually just like a mid-weight synthetic, and that's with our outer layer gear, I can stay pretty warm once I get cooled down and dried off.
And we'll jump into that now. Is you know, obviously ICO gear is our camouflage, and so from a pants and top perspective, it is whether you're using our stuff or somebody else's, it doesn't matter. We use the early season gear, or I do, from the start of the season till it gets to about, I guess, 55 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just wear a light poly T-shirt or something, or our dry fit T-shirt underneath the early season hoodie, and that'll get me down to in the 50s,
right,
the upper 50s. And then I will switch and add in the midweight pant and the mid-season hoodie that's made out of the grid fleece. That'll be my next, and that will get me down to, call it upper 40s with light wind. If we get, some heavy wind there, I'll throw the vest on. Next is our Sherpa. I'll graduate to our Sherpa pants and jacket. And that really is for most states out of the South where it's not super, super hot, that's kind of the bulletproof system. Mm-hmm. The Sherpa pants, Sherpa jacket, you can wear that with a really light base layer from mid 40s, and then if you layer well underneath it with like the midweight hoodie and the vest underneath the Sherpa jacket, man, all the way down into the 20s, because that stuff's windproof and it's got that fleece lining. And with those new bibs that we just came out with, I mean, you're going to be good from the 40s down into the low 20s with those bibs for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the bibs because, like I said, I'm always doing the hanging hunts, and I really like the Sherpa line that we have because it's, so you can use it in such a broad range of temperatures. But I wasn't crazy about the pants because I didn't want to wear them to do a hanging hunt, and then they're kind of hard to put on over my boots. But we came out with those bibs, and those are perfect. I can just pack them right in and put them on over everything once I cool down. So I'm really excited about using them this year.
Yep.
But I'm the same way. I think Saturday morning was the first time I broke one of these out.
Midweight hoodie.
Yeah, I've been wearing the lightweight stuff all season pretty much, and I busted out the midweight hoodie, and I just threw it on over a T-shirt once I got hung. But yeah, once it gets a little bit cooler out, I'll probably graduate to a vest over top of one of these and the midweight hoodie, and that'll get us, into like November just about, unless we get a real cold snap. Down here, at least.
Yeah, and then when you get into when you get below 20, that's the heavy bibs, heavy jacket. Regardless of whose product you're using, that's kind of the system,
right,
that you can put together, and it makes a difference. A lot of guys say, well, plaid and blue jeans and yada yada yada. Yeah, but it makes a difference if I'm able to sit there another hour. Mm-hmm. Because I'm comfortable and I'm warm and I don't have 75 layers on. I'm able to dress fairly thin because there's a lot of technology with the windproofness and the insulation that goes into whatever product it is. You need to research it because the lighter your garments are and the least number of layers that you can wear make it so much easier to draw your bow, climb in your stand, that sort of stuff. So clothing is an important part of it.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about your string path either when you have less stuff on, because guys don't realize your string it'll touch your sleeve or something, and your tune is gone. You're done. You're probably gonna miss, or you're gonna hit them wrong, and that's not good.
The mule deer buck.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
He got shot right in the wiener.
Watch your collar. Let's take a break for a second. I'm going to reset this camera.
All right, moving on from clothing, let's get into bows, arrows, broadheads, sights, launchers, releases. Now, we could do a full segment on this, and I think maybe earlier on in one of our podcasts we may have gone over bows.
A little bit.
But let's just talk real quick. Bows, I'm shooting the Matthews V3X. I really like that Hoyt Venom, and it's been hanging on the wall, and I look at it every single day when I come in there. It's a really good shooting bow, and my issue is I have some kind of a mental block about changing bows in the middle of the season. and I really like the Matthews. I like everything about it. I think the Hoyt has a little bit smoother draw. I like the handle maybe on the Hoyt a little bit better, but I'm just not switching in the middle of the season. This is something I'm going to have to really tinker with and play with after hunting season's over to decide what I'm going to go with next year.
Yeah, I'm shooting the Matthews Traverse still. It's a little bit of a longer bow compared to, to some people's standards, but Matthews came out with that VX3, or V3X?
V3X.
It's basically the latest and greatest Traverse. It's a 33-inch axle to axle. I really like the short, compact bows, but when I started shooting my Traverse, it seemed like the string angle felt a lot more comfortable. I used to have to really dip my head down to touch the string on my Triax, my 28-inch bow, and I just seemed to shoot the Traverse really well. And I hunt out of a saddle a lot, and I don't have any problem maneuvering that bow around a little bit. And I haven't seen any difference.
How do you shoot with the tree?
I was about to say that. Joe can't get around.
How do you shoot with that tree in front of you?
He likes to pick fun at the saddle hunters.
I do not. I hunt out of a saddle too every now and again.
I was torn about it, but I ended up doing it because it wasn't super expensive to get the mods, and they're really easy to switch out if I didn't like them. But I went from my 85 or 80% let off mods in my cams to 75% let off mods, and it took me a little bit of shooting to get used to them. They're a little more, there's almost no valley to it, and they feel, obviously it feels like it has, you're holding more weight, and you are back, but it seemed like as soon as I put them in, I started shooting it wasn't a lot better, but I could tell I was shooting better, and I really liked that. I think if I ever did get another bow, I know the Hoyts, you can switch that right there on the cam without even having to switch out the mods. So if I did get a new bow later on, I would be trying it out with the lower percentage. And I think Cameron with Exodus does a good podcast with a guy out of Texas. He was like a physicist or something, and they explain the advantages on his podcast of why it's better. That's what I guess the target shooters prefer, is the less let off. But if you go look up his podcast, they get into it pretty deep and give you the reasons. But I seem to shoot better.
That's Exodus with
it's Deer Gear with Cameron Deer, and I think it's one of his most recent podcasts. It's like 45 or something like that, episode 45. But they do a really good in-depth one, and it kind of swayed me over, and it's seeming to, I like it. I shoot it really well now.
Do you think you would have any issues on a frosty November morning when you got a buck that locks up and you've got to hold it back longer?
No, it takes a little bit because you're so used to, it was almost like getting a new bow or something. You go from your bow you're used to shooting all the time, and you know exactly how the draw cycle is, to a new one, and you're like, what the heck? But after about a week of shooting it, I got that muscle memory, and it just feels natural to me. I will say, though, it forces you, and that's probably why I shoot better with it, it forces you to keep that back tension when you're at full draw. So you may not be able to hold it as long, but with the, experience hunting, you kind of figure out when to draw and when not to draw, and I don't have any problem drawing that bow. I keep it set at 70. I could go up more if I wanted to, but I can hold it for a long time.
I don't know if you could go up with that dad bod you got kicking now. Yeah. I don't know if you could go up on it anymore.
Backing on the
LV. How are you sleeping at night, old boy?
Not very good.
All right, arrows. Arrows, obviously an important component. Cameron Deer, they've come out with some at Exodus. I think you've got some of them. Really cool arrow. I haven't shot any yet. I have been running the Victory Rip TKOs. Absolutely love those arrows. Shot a bunch of stuff last year, and I want to say I had 7 of my 12 still running well, and all of them had been through lots of animals. So really impressed with the toughness, the straightness, the accuracy, the diameter of them. When we did that arrow test, they tested out the best. So yeah, I Rip TKO Victory Archery arrows is what I'm shooting now. Love to get my hands on some of those that Cameron at Exodus they have coming out. It's kind of a custom arrow, and then back to the Osseo Custom Bow Works, we'll be building some arrows.
Yep.
So we'll have different brands and that sort of thing. So those are the arrows. Anything you want to add on arrows?
Yeah, I already those probably are they have the Victories probably have the highest tolerances of arrows that I've ever messed with. So you got the top of the line ones. I've always shot before Cameron, before I got hooked up with Cameron and bought some arrows from him. I've always shot just the Gold Tip Hunter XTs or the Velocity XTs, and with our equipment that we have at the office, I can tune those just as good as a pretty high tolerance arrow because I got a 29 or 28 and a half, 29 inch draw length, so I can cut some of that wobbly end off if I can, and then I'll if they're too far out of the tolerances that I like, I just make those practice arrows, but they're like half the price as some of those higher end arrows, and I can get away with tuning them and they'll shoot really well. But Cameron sent me those the MMTs made by Exodus, and those are really high tolerance arrows too, and I've been liking those a lot. They shoot really, really well. But back to what you said, we got a lot of guys local that I've been building custom arrows and tuning them for. So, but yeah, like we said, get in touch with us and we'll get them things knocked out for you.
Broadheads. I think we're in the same camp here. We've just seen it too many times over and over and over again. Rage Trypan.
Yeah.
That's just a really, really good head that we've had a ton of success with in all of our testing, as well as lots and lots and lots of animals. Hey, look, I get a good fixed blade head. I understand why you shoot it. I understand it. It makes good sense. It's going to penetrate better. So all those things are reasons why guys shoot them, and I get it. I understand that. I just think there is a little bit more of an advantage across the board to shooting a mechanical, and not just any mechanical, but really that Rage Trypan. They're super accurate, super quiet, 2 inch plus entry hole, 2 inch exit hole. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. We ran, we went down the rabbit hole of the super tuning and shooting fixed blades, and I've shot a bunch of stuff with fixed blades, and they work well, but hunting with you and then doing my own testing on real life animals and our testing at the shop, the pros way outweigh the cons of shooting that Trypan. So that's what I shoot as well. And like you said, not just anyone, the Trypan, it's really, I think, a good step above a lot of other mechanicals and even the older Rages. They're just so much tougher, and their tolerances are better.
Yeah, it's a titanium ferrule. It's a one-piece ferrule, and then you've got .039 thickness blades, which are the thickest mechanical blades in the industry, and the guys have got it figured out. I mean, there are other good mechanicals. I mean, the G5 Mega Meat, the Sever.
Yeah, I like those.
Those are. There's a new one that's come out. I think Clovis, Triple Point Archery or something like that. It's an interesting head. I got a couple of those the other day. I'm gonna maybe shoot a couple of those with this year to see how they do. But high end mechanicals is definitely what we go for whitetail. Sights, black gold sights. There's lots of different sight brands on the market. Spot Hog makes some good stuff. There's, CBE makes some good stuff. Yep. HHA makes some good stuff. I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but day in, day out, I've tried to change a million times, and I've bought multiple sites. I always end up returning them or selling them to somebody else. I always come back to the black gold, just the brightness of the pins, the customization, the tolerances, the adjustability. I was an absolute anti-single pin guy. I just thought that was the most idiotic. I couldn't get through my head why in the hell somebody would shoot that, because what could go wrong when you make an adjustment and the deer comes in, he's coming down the trail at 40, you adjust it to 40 and he changes direction and he's under you and you have to let off I thought that was the craziest thing ever. And then I shot one.
Mm-hmm. I told you.
The old saying, don't talk junk about anything unless you've actually tried it. I ate crow on that.
Yeah.
But all right, in my defense, Kevo, it is the double pin.
Yeah.
All right, so it's the dual track, the black gold dual track. So it has a top single pin, and then it has a pin right under it. So it's actually a 2-pin sight.
Right.
So I met in the middle.
Yeah.
and the reason I was actually thinking about going to 2 parallel pins next year anyway, because 90% of my shots are 30 yards and in.
Right.
So this is how I'm looking at it. That top pin, I shoot 0 to 30. Mm-hmm. So that single pin, 0 to 30, that's going to cover 90% of the shots. That second pin, I will have sighted in at 40, and it's super unusual for me to shoot at a whitetail at 40 yards, but I've done it, and I will do it again in the right circumstances. If you had to make some kind of a 50-yard shot, like on the wounded one that you had hit, and you gut shot him by mistake and he ran out to 50, you could have holdover with that 2-pin, or you can dial. And if you're going to make a shot at 50 yards on a whitetail deer, I'm darn sure going to have time to dial.
Right.
Everything would have to just be absolutely perfect for that to happen.
Yeah, I got the single pin housing for the Mountain Light sight that I already had, and I just swapped it out. I wanted to get the dual track one, but I guess they didn't make it for
the housing.
For that the dual track housing. I guess they didn't make it for that sight configuration. So what I'm actually going to do, I shot mine at distance with it set 0'd at 20, and I know the holdovers. So what I'm going to do now is I marked where my holdover would be for 30 yards on my sight post, and I'm just going to put a little white Sharpie mark there, because I'm not going to shoot past 30 yards anyways if it's really low light. So if I can't see that mark, I'm not, going to be mad. But if it's that low light, I'm going to be shooting 20 yards and in anyway. So that's what I'm going to do to kind of give me that little insurance for a dual pin.
I mean, it's whitetail bow hunting that it's supposed to, you hear this a lot. It's supposed to be hard, and you're supposed to shoot them close.
Right.
I'm not trying to shoot one at 50, 60, 70 yards. I mean, I think you need to be able to do that, because if you wound something, to be able to get a follow-up arrow in it, it's important. But that is a circumstance where you would have a chance to dial.
Yeah. I don't want to shoot one past 20 yards. Yeah. We shoot out 80, 90 yards practicing, but I want them 0 to 18.
well, there's nothing better than being at full draw, have him walk through your shooting lane at 12 steps, exactly how you wanted him to come through there, and to be at full draw and to give him the old meh.
Yep.
And he stops, and you can see his eyeballs, and you've beat him. I mean,
Yep.
that's what it. Oh man,
that's the best.
Yeah, that'll get you fired up. All right, launchers. We're gonna try. Let's bust through this, because we're starting to run long on time here. Launchers. Everything we've looked at, we love the limb-driven rest, air rest. I'm calling them a launcher. The Hamskys have really good tolerances, kind of the Night Force for you scope guys. They're bulletproof. They're tough. They're easy to tune, easy to micro tune. I'm talking about stuff that you should be talking about, so go ahead.
You're right.
Oh, how about that? Some of that Bowtech stuff is rubbed off on me.
The only thing that I found with my my setup with the Hamsky is I didn't have. It's got that the rubber, I guess, dampener on it to help with it slapping down near the riser. I just didn't have mine. You got to have them pretty dang tight and stretch out that rubber piece to keep it from bouncing. And I was getting a little bit of fletching contact because I think the launcher was coming down and bouncing back up before the fletching's cleared. But once I tightened that down, I haven't had any problems with it.
The great air rest.
Yeah, and like you said, I beat the hell out of my bow. Try not to, but there's some times when I'm like, well, I got to yank it through some of these limbs to get it up here. And nothing ever moves, and that was another thing about the black golds that I really like. They're pretty dang bulletproof. They get knocked around pretty good.
They're tough.
Yep. So, but yeah, the Hamskys I really like.
Yep. They're good. Both of those are, and that's something, you can, if a fletching comes off a little bit, you can get by with that. But if your rest gets screwed up or your sight gets screwed up, that's game over.
Right.
And it will happen in the most inopportune time possible.
Mm-hmm.
So
every
sights and rest have got to be bulletproof, and those two have proven themselves time and time and time again. Releases, you got me shooting the 3-finger Carter first choice.
Yeah.
And I was shooting a 4-finger, but I had too much torque on there with 4-finger, so you got me moved over to the 3-finger. Really like that.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yep.
You can adjust them.
Yep. I shoot the same one, obviously. First choice. I got a buddy let me borrow one of his Wise choices, and it's basically the same exact thing, but with the full containment trigger finger. But it's the same exact thing. I kind of like that one too because it adds a little more weight to the release. It feels like you're holding on to a little bit more.
You're holding out on me. You told me not to.
You'll have to try it. But I like that one. That's probably my main release, and then I have the first choice in my pack in case I get the fumble fingers and drop it down at the bottom of the tree.
Ultra important. Always 2 rest. One on your bow or on
releases.
your
2 releases.
Yeah, 2 bows too.
Yeah.
But 2 releases. One on your bow or on your wrist, and then a backup in your pack in case exactly what you say. You drop one, or I've had when I had a wrist strap release, one of the bearings go out and the trigger quit working, and I'm in the stand. Where it's critical, and I had a backup so always 2 releases.
Yeah, and when I first started using a thumb release, I was so bad with, I'd go out hunt in the morning and then put that release in my, warmer jacket pocket, and I get back halfway to the stand and realize I don't have that jacket with me because it's warmer that afternoon, and have to walk back to my truck and get it. So I rigged up an old foam pouch because I was so bad about keeping track of my main release to the riser of my bow, and I keep that thing whenever I don't have it hooked to my string, it's in that pouch, so it's always with my bow.
You know what we ought to do is when you edit this thing up before it airs is to show a picture of that.
Yeah.
So guys, anybody that's on YouTube watching this on the Mission Whitetail YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're listening, one of the other platforms, you might want to just fly over to the YouTube channel and see, because it is a nifty little system he's got to keep his release in.
Yep, I love it.
All right, next is stands, and this is where you and I are going to differ a little bit. Maybe it's an age thing, a preference thing, whatever you want to call it. I much prefer a permanent, not permanent, but a preset stand. Mm-hmm. I really like the Novix preset stand. The original Lone Wolves, that somehow became Novix. We're not going to get into all that, but Novix makes them now. For my mobile setup, I'm using the Lone Wolf Custom Gear .5. It's a little small. You and I were talking about that this morning. I'm probably going to go up to the .75. Love that stand, lightweight, really quiet.
I know a guy that might want that .5 if you want to part ways with it.
Oh, for the right price.
Yeah, for the right price.
Yeah.
Double for him,
Can we
probably.
put it back in your PayPal account?
Yeah.
So I can wait 9 months to get it out?
Maybe we get some taxes taken out of it, too.
God,
Jeez. Derailed. Third time.
This is
anyway, you're getting the 7.5?
Yeah, so
that thing looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and I'll probably put the tall seat, because I am a little taller, the tall seat post, and get the mesh seat.
Yeah, those look money.
Yeah, so but man, that Lone Wolf custom gear stuff, it is expensive, but it is flipping awesome and worth every cent.
Yeah, you get what you pay for it.
Without a doubt. It's going to cost you a kidney or your firstborn firstborn
and
son.
that's why I haven't bit the bullet yet on getting any of it.
But it is money well spent for a mobile setup.
Yep.
They're awesome. Saddle, I'm going to let you run with that. I do have a saddle, and I've used it in Texas. I've shot 3 or 4 bucks out of it. And if I find a weird tree that I can't get my Lone Wolf in, or I don't have a preset stand in there, I will use the saddle. It's definitely not my preference, and I just don't think I shoot as accurate out of it. My number one preference is to have a preset stand, because I can sneak in, I don't get sweaty, I climb up and I'm there. But you can't, to me, you can't be in one camp or the other. You've got to be open-minded enough to use all of them, because you never know what you're going to get into. I mean, I can see going into public and not having a clue what tree you're going to get into, where the saddle would be something that I would probably take.
And that's what I love about it.
So fire away on the saddle, old boy, because I know that's your preference, and that's where we kind of differ.
Yeah, I would much rather have a preset, stand, and I do have some preset like trees already. I'll have a couple of the, I got a couple of the generic River's Edge 20-foot climbing sticks with a tree already prepped and everything, and sometimes I'll have the old school lone wolf in a tree or something like that, and I love sitting in those. But I also have some trees that I have preset on the small private areas with just the sticks going up there, and everything's trimmed, and then I just throw my platform in there and hang my saddle. I'm good to go. But my go-to setup right now is the Lone Wolf, or the old Lone Wolf, or the new Novix 3-step sticks that you fold out. They're the single steps that you fold out either way. I use 3 of those and 2 steel cable aiders at the bottom too, and I can usually get as high as I really need to, especially on the public land, or just the run and gun, pick out a tree in the afternoon or whatever and hang it, because I found I get so high sometimes that the canopy, I can't see anything, and I end up going down lower, and I carry all these extra sticks in, and they just end up at the bottom of the tree. So I stuck with 3 of those, and then I have the tethered Predator, the first one that ever came out, the tethered Predator platform, and I like it a lot. But if you ask Joe or any of my buddies, hockey tape and paracord are my best friends. I got everything hockey taped or paracord, so there's no clanking or anything. And another thing that I really like that guys don't use a lot is I bought some high-end steel pruners, the little like
hand
gardening pruners, and those are taped up too. But I keep those in my little pouch when I'm climbing up a tree doing a hanging hunt, and you get those. Hurt? Not my prison pouch, my regular pouch.
Sorry, you confused me.
I knew you were going. And they're not big enough to saw off. Derailed. But those little trimmers are real quiet. And then, but I think I need to get you to let me borrow the .5 for a day or something. I think my ultimate setup for, at least for my private land spots that I don't have to walk super far, would be a 0.5 with my saddle on. And my favorite, I didn't go into the saddle yet, but I would like a little bit more real estate to move around, because sometimes I'm turning my back to the tree to get a shot, and that little more real estate would be
like
awesome.
a normal person.
Yeah, like a normal person
tree,
with your back to the tree.
Back to the tree. Yeah.
So I think that 0.5 would give me that extra little bit of real estate, and it still wouldn't be hard to pack in and maneuver.
No,
so
it's super light.
But as far as saddles, I've tried just about all of them, and I went back to my Cruiser XC, and that's hands down the most comfortable one, and I've been hunting out of that a good bit, and I really like it.
And guys, again, not sponsored by anybody, and you know, Kevin is the saddle man in our outfit, and you know, has tried about every saddle on the market. You know, so I you know, the one, and I haven't hunted out of it, so I'm take that, you know, as you will, but that I would consider making that TX5 minimalist as my safety harness.
Right.
I think that could be, because, you know, I could still use it as a saddle when I had to, and I can about get through a hunt being uncomfortable. You know, after those Texas hunts where we got deer on us the entire time, and we can't wiggle, you know, we can make it happen. But
or you could, you know, you have your normal saddle, and then that one to use with a normal tree stand, and since it's the minimalist one, you can turn around and sit down if you want. And that's why I wanted to try I think the ultimate would be that hybrid setup, like I was saying, because then I can, you know, adjust my tether lower to about hip height and just turn around and sit down if I wanted to on like an all-day sit. So I think in the future, once I get my pennies saved up, I'll probably be getting a 0.5 here sooner or later.
Yeah, Lone Wolf Custom Gear, Andre DeQuisto, those guys, man, that stuff is money. It's good, and it literally is money.
Yeah, I mean,
it's expensive. All right, let's move on because we're closing in on an hour here. Trail cams. We did a whole review or podcast on this. Was it a podcast? What was it?
We did a whole freaking test video on the cell cam, or both. We did it on standalone 2 years ago, the regular SD card ones, and then we did an awesome cell cam video. But yeah, go ahead with yours.
So in and out, I've used quite a few of them. For me, the Spartans are kind of the benchmark.
Right.
They are, as far as picture quality, reliability, just a bulletproof camera, good customer service. They've come out with some that are a little more price friendly. If you're looking, you know, price wise, real good customer service and a good camera, Exodus, you know, they make a good camera. And then also those Tacticams,
right?
You know, they make a really inexpensive camera with a good data plan. But at the end of the day, the Spartans win for me, time in and time out.
Yeah, I bought a handful of the Reveal X's right when they went on sale for like $90 or something. So I got a couple of those, and I'm really impressed with the signal that they get. The picture quality is pretty good, and they don't burn up batteries as bad as those older coverts that I have. And I still use the coverts, but it seems like they burn up batteries a little bit quicker. I probably will spring for some Spartans later on down the road, but right now I'm really impressed with the Tacticams. And as for like a standalone camera, those Brownings, the regular SD card ones, those ones are hard to beat. I bought a handful of like Wild Game Nation cameras when they're on sale for like $30 a pop to kind of put out on the public land, and that way if they walk off I'm not too hurt. If you're gonna steal a camera, at least leave the card, please. Leave the card. I don't care about the camera. Just take the camera, leave the card, please. But those seem to have really good picture quality too. Those, and then what was the other ones? I think another good cheap one from like Walmart were like the $30 Tascos. The picture quality ain't as good on those, but those Wild Game Nation seem to work really well. I just don't like, and we've had this problem with other cameras before, is when it switches over to the infrared, it's got a click to it when it takes the picture or video. But if you put it up a couple feet in a tree, I'm not too worried about it. But I definitely don't put those over my main spots. Those are kind of a, broadcasting camera to spread out on public land or in new spots.
I know what it was. I did a post the other day about cell cams versus traditional cams.
Yeah.
And I think that you do miss more pictures with a cell cam than you do with, say, a Reconyx or a Browning. Reconyx has been known to be the best traditional camera on the planet. Very expensive. Again, you get what you pay for. But to me, the risk is worth the reward, or the risk is worth it in the text cam because of the live intel that you get and not having to go in and out to check cards.
Yep.
Just having to check or replace batteries. And if you've got them on scrapes, trails, acorn trees, whatever it may be, those batteries, those lithium batteries are going to last a long time. If you got them over a feeder or something like that, it's going to eat them alive.
It'll burn them up.
But you're going to be going in to fill that feeder anyway.
Yep.
Okay, so that's enough on trail cams. You got something else?
One other thing I was going to say, a lot of guys kind of talk smack about them because they got them when they very first came out and they had bad luck with a certain cell cam. But I think that since technology, it's almost like mechanicals. Since it's gotten better, there's some pretty bulletproof cell cams out there that especially since technology's gotten better, they won't break the bank too for a decent one.
No, that's right. I mean, it used to be $280 was a traditional, camera, and now you can get good cell cams for $150, $200.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the cell cams are the way to go. And as far as scaring deer and that sort of thing, it all of them can scare deer.
I scared plenty of deer.
Yeah, you aren't a cell cam though.
But I scared them.
Yeah, right out of the woods. All right, should we hit these last three?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Bikes, electric bikes. So I have experience with one bike, and it is called a Rad Rover, and they are very inexpensive.
She's fast too.
Yeah, and bulletproof, man. I've had it for 3 years. I think it was $1,400 all in with all the components, compared to like these $3,000 things. So if you're looking for an economical bike that does the job, the Rad Rovers are a good bike, electric bike that won't break the bank.
Yeah, I just have a little 10-speed pedaler lower end mountain bike. If I don't use a bike a whole lot, but some of these public land spots I got, there are gates at the end of these old logging roads, and you can hop on that bike and haul butt like a mile and cut your time down and take your time and not sweat your butt off. But I just throw the old 10-speed in the bed of the truck and ride out when I need to.
Yeah, I mean that's truly, the scent that you don't leave, the ability to get around quiet. The bikes are really a must for a lot of situations.
For sure.
Lights, I'm a big hat light guy. I run a Petzl hat light. I've got a green setting, a red setting, and then a really bright white light setting. It's got a battery pack on the back. Obviously, lights are ultra important. Going in and out in the dark, I try and use green or red.
Yeah.
And then for tracking, I've always got stuff in my hands to try to mark, where the deer went, or carrying my bow or whatever it may be. So a hat light has served me a lot better than a traditional flashlight.
Yeah, I got the same settings on mine, but I think mine's like a Nebo or something, and it's rechargeable. So I really like that. You just keep a USB in your truck, and you can charge it on the way out there or back home. That's really convenient.
Yep. So Nevo and Petzl. I run the Petzls, and you can get them at any like Half Moon or hiking shop or online.
Yeah, I ordered mine off of Amazon for like $25.
Last but not least, knives. Obviously, there's a lot more stuff we could get into, but we're going to wrap this up. Knives. A lot of guys love the Havalons. I'm going to give one tip for probably a knife that a lot of people, they've heard of, but they haven't necessarily looked at them as a skinning knife. But there's a Cutco, serrated Cutco hunting knife. Mm-hmm. It's got an orange handle, and I'm telling you, you can cut through the rib cage of a giant Midwestern buck with this knife. It is razor sharp. It holds its edge. It's serrated, so you can send it back to them after the season, and they'll recondition it and resharpen it. So those Cutco, it's a hunter knife with an orange handle. You can get them with black handles or whatever, like the orange, so I don't lose it. But, that's a tip on knives. The Havalons are awesome for skinning because you can just replace the blades. There's millions of knives out there.
Yeah, my favorite is the SE Zulu 2, and a lot of guys
Say that fast 3 times.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't look at it's more of like a little survival knife. I think Navy SEAL makes them, and you can get those off of Amazon, and they can come with a little survival kit, and they got a nice Kydex sheath and all that, but they have, I don't know the exact steel, but it's really nice steel. It holds an edge long, and they're pretty compact, so I'll keep one in my pack when I'm hunting public and I got to go in deep if I want to quarter one up. But the blade angling is awesome for caping and things like that, and then when I'm deboning and doing a lot of my processing, I really like the 7-inch. It's the Bubba Blade 7-inch fillet knife. That one's my favorite fillet knife that I have.
For getting the meat off the bone.
Right, for the processing.
Good deal. All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up. Just remember, we're all hunters. We're all together. There is no best hunter. There is no this guy's better than another guy. Let's stay out of the drama. They're public, private. Do what you like to do. Respect everybody. Let's bring everybody up, not bring everybody down, and try and keep the ego out as best we can. But we'll be back here in a couple weeks. Thanks a lot, as always. Any questions, comments, let us know. And y'all check out the Osseo Gear Custom Bow Works coming first of the year. We're excited about that. Kevin's going to be in charge of it, so we know it's going to run really, really smoothly.
Yeah, and go check out our Instagram pages. I post a lot of season updates and some of the bow and arrow builds on my stories and things like that. It's Kevin_B_hunting or hunting. And then what's yours? Just Joe Miles Hunting?
At Joe Miles Hunting.
Yep. That's easy enough to remember. But yeah, good luck the rest of the season. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.